Hi, my name is David White and I'm the Content Marketing Director at connective3. Today I'm going to run you through a presentation about how to make PR work harder and deliver real business growth. Before I get into the presentation though, I want to explain why I'm starting today with a GIF of a sad dog. And the reason I'm doing that is because I am a little sad, I am a little upset. I've worked in this industry for just under 9 years now. And when I started way back when, we were buying links, we were spamming the web, we were churning out irrelevant content just for the sake of links. Then thankfully a few years went by and digital PR became the new norm and it became the thing that the industry adopted. So now we run campaigns that we don't need to buy links for. We run campaigns that get us into the national publications, get us into international publications, get us into some high authority domains. The challenge I face now is that everybody is doing that, but people are still pummeling out irrelevant content. We're just using digital PR methods as a way to amplify it. Let me explain this further. On my first day when I started in the industry, these were some of the links that I saw. As you can see here, this is an irrelevant cycling blog and there's 4 links going through to a personal injury client. Every single one of them links was anchor text heavy and going through to product pages. It was completely irrelevant. It had no value to the customer and it was just there for the sake of the link. If we have a look at the one at the side, again, it's the exact same personal injury client, but this time it's on a god-awful mummy blog and we can see 2 product links towards the bottom of the article here. That's what I saw when I first started in my career. And this is what I've seen in the past few months. These are not clients of mine. This is just things that I've seen on the web, I'm hesitant to add. A loan company talking about how to cut fruit. A card company talking about recruitment news, but it was clearly just there for links, and a life insurance company talking about gaming. Now, when I looked at these 3 individual cases, I realized that some of the links were actually all right. I have to admit, some of the links were pretty good, but the content was completely irrelevant. And if you were a user who landed on that, you would think to yourself, well, how do the 2 match together? It offers no other value other than a link, and that is not digital PR. That is, we are much better than that as an industry. So I ask right here, right now, please, for the sake of humanity, stop doing that. Focus on running relevant content and using digital PR as a way to promote and amplify that content. So I actually think that link building can work harder than just become a number on a spreadsheet. When you run your link building campaigns, they can deliver much more. And today I'm going to run you through 2 examples. I'm going to show you how we can use links to increase brand awareness, and we can also build links and change brand perception at the same time. So let's start with the first point, how link building can also build brand awareness. Now I'm going to give you a run through of one of my clients at connective3 called Black Tower Financial Management. So Black Tower Financial Management are a wealth management company that operate throughout Europe and across the US as well. So they've got offices in Cyprus, the Cayman Islands, New York. They've got multiple offices and target multiple different territories. Now, the first thing you want to do if you are challenged to build links for a brand is work out how to have an always-on approach and how to make them links deliver much more than just a number on a spreadsheet. Make them links deliver real business change and growth. Now, I run a model internally called strategic creativity, and strategic creativity has 3 elements to it: reactive, planned, and proactive. So if you are challenged to build a link to a domain, build links to a domain, should I add, you need to be focusing on this plan side, the big campaigns, the one that win awards, the one that start Twitter threads, the ones that makes everybody stand up and listen. But at the same time, you need to keep your ear to the ground and see if there's anything you can do to react. It could be newsjacking, it could be new products or fake products, whatever it is. And also be proactive. Have a look on site, understand who the business is, what they're trying to achieve, what changes they're going through, what challenges they face, and see if there's anything that business has already created which you can use for link building. Because instantly, as digital PRs, if we're challenged to build links to a domain, we'll think to ourselves, right, brilliant, let's do this cool campaign. And absolutely, we should do that, but realistically, it's only 2/3, 1/3 even, of the overall link opportunity in front of you. So make sure you run an always-on approach. Now, we're talking about how to make links build brand awareness as well. The first thing you need to do is work out what your customers want or what your clients' customers want. I don't want to be just doing something for the sake of links. That stuff I showed you a minute ago, them 3 examples, is no better, in my opinion, to the stuff that I saw back in 2012 when I started the industry. You now need to work out what conversations your customers are having, what pain points your customers are feeling, and what it is that is driving them to come to your client or come to your site and purchase or convert or start a conversation. Now, there's a really cool tool you can do to use to work this out, called alsoask.com, completely free tool, and it maps out essentially the related searches within Google. So I have put in here retirement. The reason I'm putting retirement is because retirement and pension planning is one of Black Tower's, well, it is Black Tower's kind of key product offering, if you will. What that then shows me is people are asking what it means to retire, how much money they should have in retirement, and all these different questions around it. When you actually start to analyse the conversations, what we saw is people are obviously naturally talking about financial-led conversations. That's natural because they're talking about pensions. But if you really dig deeper, what you will see is people are questioning, where will my money last me longer? Where will my retirement take me further? And it is that led us to create a campaign. Now, I'm really keen to say this because this, I think, is something that people, or digital PRs, people within the industry, miss out quite a lot. You've worked out who your customers are and what kind of questions they're asking. If you have a paid media team, or if there's an agency running paid PPC, display, programmatic, whatever it is, make sure you speak to them. This is a gold mine for idea generation and justifying why we should be doing the campaigns that we are doing. The data that these paid media teams have is absolutely invaluable. So I spoke to the paid media team. This isn't Black Tower's data. I didn't want to show this. I've only put this slide up there just to get the point across how we can get this data. But you can have a look at in-market audiences. So you can say, well, actually, what are my customers in market for? Who am I trying to target? What kind of interests do they have? Also, you can look at affinity audiences and see what they kind of group up into. So are they bargain hunters? Are they luxury travelers? Like I said, this is not Black Tower's data. I didn't want to show that. I just wanted to put this up to kind of get the point across. But ultimately, if you use both that paid information and the stuff from Also Asked, you're left with this wealth of data and wealth of justification in terms of creating relevant content that you can go to the media with. We created these 2 campaigns. We created the best European country to retire in and the best US state to retire in. The reason we did 2 campaigns is because there are 2 different domains in the case of Black Tower. They have a US site and a European site. But we created this content which is uber relevant. Not only does it talk directly about one of our products, which is retirement and pensions, it also taps into all them conversations that we found when we did that research stage around their customers. Now, once you've got this campaign, once you've got this really relevant piece of content that you're going to push out, what you're going to do is you want to find a killer media list. You're going to want to find the journalists who are going to want to talk and amplify this campaign. Now, I have got 2 tools here, which I think will be good. So AudiSense is a really cool tool. Essentially with AudiSense, you can input different topics, different social channels, and it will show you all the kind of publications that people who engage with them topics are reading about. And you can take them publications and then go find journalist information and then target them. Another one is Spark Toro. So you can input, again, different topics or different social accounts, and it will show you all the podcasts, all the newspapers, all the TV shows that your customers or people who are engaging with them topics are reading, listening to, watching, etc. And then you can target those publications with your content. This is different to how most people normally do a media list. Normally what people will do is they will have a PR database. They will go into it, they will type in the word pensions in this case, they'll pull a list of people who talk about pensions, and they'll just throw a press release out. That's not the right way to do this. These tools allow you to take people who we know our customers are listening to, individuals who we know our customers are listening to, rather than just throwing something out there as a blanket approach. I'm really keen to say at this point, by the way, that both of these are paid tools, but they both do offer free versions. You just get limited data. But do check them out, do play around with them because they are awesome. Then go back to your paid team and ask them, what were the top performing domains? Find out what are the top performing domains across paid, and then see if you can target them. Because if we know that we're getting conversions when people see our ad or whatever it is on these domains, then we should be targeting them with PR and seeing if we can get there for free in an editorial perspective. Now stop right here because this is super important. Once you have this really relevant content. Once you know who it is that your customers are listening to and you've worked out what questions your customers are asking, you're going to want to then stalk the competition. So this tool is called Ahrefs. It's a link index tool and an SEO tool. It does quite a few different kind of tasks. What you can do here is you can input your domain against a competitor's domain. And it will show you all the links that are going through to your competitor's site, but not going through to your site. And then you can start to have a look and see, well, actually, how can I target the ones that are going to them and not to us? You can also take relevant pieces of content. Now remember, when we talk about PR, sometimes it's not the direct competition that we need to worry about, but it's people who are fighting for journalist space. An example, best example I can give you is if you were a car insurance site. So if you were a comparison site who were talking about money saving, you might actually have to fight with voucher sites because they talk about the exact same thing. They're not a direct competitor, but they are fighting for the same journalist space as you. So using Ahrefs, think about who is fighting in that kind of journalist space, who are direct competitors, input them into here, find out who is linked to them and not linked to you, and if relevant, add them to your media list. Now, I've put the strategic creativity sort of model here, because that whole part there was the initial plan section. The bit that I've just ran through, all the research, the big flashy content was all that planned element of strategic creativity. Be proactive, make your links work harder. Why should we be scared to go to TV and radio? We should absolutely not. I went to TV and radio with this very campaign. There's a couple of links here, ABC 30, Fox News, Money Yahoo. We sent analysts in front of the cameras. We got on, like I say, Fox News, and there's a screenshot there to kind of show it. These are huge publications, okay? Yes, they may not add a link to you, but what we're doing is we're taking a really relevant piece of content and we are amplifying it through one of the biggest sort of channels in an area which we're targeting. And then suddenly what we've got here is we're getting links. We have this super relevant content that is of interest to our audience. We are targeting people who we know our audience are listening to and watching and following. And now we are taking it offline and putting it on the screens, increasing brand awareness and increasing that share of voice. Now, let's have a look at the third point of the strategic creativity model, reacting. So at this point, when we did this, we pushed it out, we got loads of links, we were on TV and it was all going swimmingly and we had quite a few leads come through, and one of the things that we heard about was somebody asking, how much money should I have saved at each sort of age range in order to achieve a comfortable retirement? So I took that information because naturally when we're running campaigns, new stories will appear, new angles will appear. In this case, this was the angle, so we picked it up, pushed out something really quickly, and we got an extra 21 placements, including CNBC, Express, and The Telegraph. That led to 180 links, 86.7 thousand social shares, and an estimated online coverage view of 8.77 million. This is for a brand who were relatively unheard of, and these are some of the best links in the world. This is great, this is fantastic, this answers the need from an SEO perspective, but what's even more important here is the share of voice. So this is Black Tower against one of their biggest competitors. So if we have a look here, the red is Black Tower. So before this campaign, you can see there is, I don't know, 15%, give or take, of the overall conversation was being dominated by Black Tower. We have a look now and we're talking, I don't know, 60%. You have then achieved more than just a number on a spreadsheet. Links don't need to be just links. Links can be there. Links can support SEO, but links can work harder and deliver graphs like this as well. Now let's go on to the second point about how links can change brand perception. This time I want to talk through some work I did with Provident Personal Credit. Provident Personal Credit are a doorstep loan company, so they're seen as a taboo in the industry. Nobody likes to talk about loans. And naturally, because of the industry they were in, there was a lot of negative sentiment towards the brand. So again, we started from scratch. We said, how can we make sure that we are always on, that we are making content work as hard as it possibly can, and we adopted the strategic creativity model. We then, when talking to the client, because they were highly regulated and they had a number of challenges internally, we just went in and had a chat with them and said, well, what are your pain points? So we chatted to the clients. What do you want to talk about? What would you love to talk about? What would make you look great in front of your boss? What is it that your customers are wanting to talk about? Then we listened to the customers. We asked them, what questions do you have for this brand? What questions do you have that we could potentially answer? Now, when listening to the customers, it's always a good idea to run social listening. Now, I've got two graphs here from Linkfluence, which is a social listening provider. Now, for those of you that don't know, social listening can provide invaluable insight into questions that your customers are asking. It scans all the editorial channels, it even scans like the comment section on websites and obviously social media. You can input different topics, you can input certain accounts, you can even input websites, and it will say this is when the conversation is happening and this is what the conversation is. So this graph here is showing me where that conversation is taking place, if it's happening on social, if it's happening on editorial, if it's happening on forums, etc. And then this graph here is showing me what them conversations were about. So at this point, I have information which I know my customers are wanting to have answered. We know from initially that there was a negative sentiment problem. Now we know the questions and the concerns of the customers. We can start to move down the ideation process and work out how to create a digital PR approach that delivers links and changes brand sentiment. Now, Linkfluence is a paid-for platform. There are numerous other social listening providers out there, such as Brandwatch, such as Pulsar. I did want to put in a free version though as well. There are free options out there, they're just not as detailed. I think that's the best way I can explain it. But the one that I would recommend is Social Searcher. They call themselves a social media search engine. You can input, again, different topics, different social channels, different users, etc. and it will pull through information. But it's just not as detailed as them paid for versions. But if you're wanting to sort of dip your toe into the water with social listening, definitely check out this platform. Anyway, at this point, we know the pain points. We know what our customers wanted to answer and we know the challenges. So we created relevant content. This here is called Unbroken Britain. Unbroken Britain identifies the community spirit across the UK. It shows you where has the best community spirit. The reason this is relevant to Provident is because they are a doorstep loan company and therefore their entire business is built on community. So by highlighting and identifying community spirit in the UK, we're actually doing something that is completely relevant to them as a brand. The next step in our challenge to build links and change brand perception was to find local trusted influencers and target them to share the message for us. Now, I've put in a little terrible kind of calculation here. Local media plus local counsellors equal links that drive trust. Now, this is just the model that we adopted for this one approach, but I'll explain it further. We targeted the local media within whoever we highlighted within the sort of Unbroken Britain asset page. So the Sheffield Telegraph, the Yorkshire Evening Post, etc. And we said to them, we've got this story, you know, your sort of community has been voted one of the best in terms of community spirit within the UK. Why don't you go to your local counsellors or to local influencers within your area and get a comment back off them and share the news with them? So local journalists would go to their local counsellors or people who are influential in said area and share the results. And then when that local influencer or counsellor or whoever got involved, more journalists would be more likely to pick up the story because it has the backing of these influential people, and anybody who's listening or reading that story is more likely to trust it and therefore trust Provident because a trusted figure has come out and praised our survey results. Now, here's a couple of examples of how we did that. Remember that we're a loan company? Remember that traditionally loan companies were terribly hard to get links for, certainly in a relevant manner like this? The NHS. So the NHS in Southampton, we're doing a recruitment drive, and the local councillor had read the story in Southampton and had passed it on to whoever was in charge of the recruitment drive for the NHS at that time. We got a link back. Can you get a more trusted site than the NHS? I don't think you can. Phil Spencer from Location even wrote about our kind of story in a positive light. Phil Spencer obviously is a TV personality and therefore carries with him influence and trust. Worcester government used to do their own PR campaign around us every time we released this data because Worcester was voted as one of the happiest or cleanest, I believe, areas of the UK. So every time that results came out, they would say to us, can I PR it on your behalf? I would say yes. Not only does that get me the links that we so desire, but also we are changing brand perception because if you see something coming from your local government, you're probably more likely to trust that story and therefore trust the source of that story, which in this case was Provident. Always be proactive and newsjack their social channels as well. This is super, super important. So every time somebody would cover us, I would see if they could amplify that story via their social channels. So for example, the BBC covered us here, and then they tweeted it out. And obviously we just newsjacked their authority. So we had this great story that was of interest to the BBC. The BBC is a huge trusted domain in the eyes of Google. The BBC is a huge trusted domain in the eyes of customers. And next thing I know, we are using their influence to get that story spread even further. Worcester Council here again, English Education, University of Plymouth. We utilised all their influence and all their following to make sure that this story spread as far and wide as humanly possible. Now, remember that reactive part of the strategic creativity model? Always keep it in mind. The Drum were looking for the best map-based content. We sent it to them, got a link back. Moonpig even picked up on the story because they wanted to run something similar. So we sent it to them, they covered it, and then they PR'd it for us. This is hugely important. This was a loan company that struggled to build links, had a negative sentiment because of the industry that they worked in, and all of a sudden, just going back one slide, we were getting some of the most trusted sort of corporations and companies in the world to talk about us and link to us, meaning that we had 100% positive press mentions and numerous links. Some top results here, 180 links. We actually became first position for doorstep loans and we got one Daddy Award. That's great, that answers that link side of it, but the bit that really impressed me, the bit that really kind of made me feel like I was doing a good job was this. 100% of that press coverage was positive. This was a loan company, some of the best links in the world, some of the most trusted brands in the world were talking about us. I hope this proves that when you're running your next PR campaign for link building purposes, I hope three things really. I hope firstly that you're going to stop spinning irrelevant content because you don't need to. You know, we're not in 2012 anymore, stop doing that. And I hope you're going to look at how links can either change a brand perception or build a brand, or even going further than the 3 points, driving sales. Links don't need to just be a number on a spreadsheet. Links can work harder, they should work harder. It's 2020, we need to start actually thinking like PRs and get rid of that kind of weird old school link building mindset. Links are important, we have links at the front of our mind all the times, but we're not going out there to spam the web, we're getting links at the same time as offering relevant, useful information. Thank you very much for listening.